What's up, guys? Dirk here from intelligentcryptocurrency.com. Happy Saturday. And in today's video, it is going to be a summary of the news that's been happening over the past week or two. I'm going to go through articles, headlines, connect some dots, share my insights, and basically, we're going to go through getting you up to speed on what's been happening in the markets. So if you're new to this channel, my name is Dirk. And if you want no BS, no hype cryptocurrency content and updates, then please consider subscribing to the channel below. And if you do subscribe, click the notification bell so you do get all future updates. Now, let's dive straight into it. There's a lot that's been happening these past few weeks, and it is all looking incredibly bullish for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in the long term, in my opinion. So let's hop over into my screen and let's get started. The first thing I wanted to start out with is this tweet here also by Michael Saylor, who's obviously from a MicroStrategy. If you don't know, that's a big publicly listed company on the NASDAQ who have recently acquired $425 million worth of Bitcoin. It is a huge, huge step and also a message for the whole world, really, for any companies, investors, billionaires, that, hey, this Bitcoin thing might actually be something that is a place to protect my wealth from inflation against the devaluing US dollar and all the chaos in the world. And I do recommend, if you are in the crypto space, which I'm guessing you are because you're watching this channel, that you do follow Michael Saylor on Twitter. He does put out some good tweets where he basically says Bitcoin is the first software network capable of storing all the monetary energy in the world with no loss of power over time and negligible transmission loss. Assuming broad adoption, that would make it the most valuable invention of the modern era. Few understand this. And it's funny because several years ago, Michael Saylor was actually completely against Bitcoin. Obviously, he's changed his mind, he's seen the potential of it, and now he's continuing to spread the message about it. And this is happening more and more. More people are starting to realize and wake up to the potential of what Bitcoin is, what the network is, and how it actually has this potential to store wealth and to increase. And because of the network effect, because of the limited scarcity, and because of the huge computer power behind Bitcoin to make it a safe and secure network, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more people starting to take actions like Michael Saylor and starting to change their tune about Bitcoin and eventually, hopefully, about cryptocurrencies too. And one of the big problems in the world that you're probably aware of right now is fiat currencies, and they're devaluing at an enormous rate because of the amount that's being printed. And this is something that's basically, it's inherent to the nature of fiat currencies. It's a flawed design. Eventually, all fiat currencies go to zero. It's happened hundreds of times throughout history. If you really dig into what a fiat currency is and how it works, how money, what we call money, fiat currency, is created, it's created out of debt. It's a debt-based system. It's controlled by a central entity. There's absolutely no restrictions on how much of it can be created. Nobody even knows how much there is in circulation, how much is being made. It's all done in a secret way, and there's a total monopoly, obviously, on the fiat currency creation. And since the inception of a fiat currency, as more and more of it gets created or printed or created by debt, the more it gets devalued, right? So if there's $1 million in circulation, by duplicating the supply, by doubling it or by tripling it, it reduces the value of the currency that's already in supply. And this has been accelerating. What we're seeing here is the M2 money supply, which you can see the definition over here. It is a broader set of financial assets held principally by households. M2 consists of M1 plus savings deposits, etc., etc. So basically, it's the money supply. And you can see how this has been steadily increasing since 1985. But look at 2020, how it's just jumped and accelerated vertically. And that's obviously because of all the stimulus. Trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars have been created this year because of the stimulus. And this doesn't go back down, okay? It just goes up and up and up. And the more it goes up, the less the purchasing power of a dollar becomes, or a euro or a pound or whatever it is. And you just need more currency units to be able to buy a loaf of bread or a car or a house or anything else. And the more people that start to realize this and the more people that start to see this, the more they come to the conclusion that, hey, I shouldn't actually be holding so much fiat currencies. I'd rather keep something that's going to protect me against this inflation, that's going to protect my purchasing power, like gold or silver or real estate, perhaps even stocks, right? Anything, any type of asset is almost better than holding fiat currencies. That all that's happened is it's just gone down in value over the years, and it's going down and down and down and down, right? Cryptocurrencies. That's why Michael Saylor has gone into Bitcoin, because out of all the assets that are there, of course you can have gold and metals and properties and these are all good things to have in a way. But look at what Bitcoin is and what it's becoming, and then ask yourself, well, why shouldn't I own some Bitcoin? It's an incredibly liquid asset. It's global. It's portable. You can control your own funds, your own Bitcoin, right? You can memorize your private key, keep all your Bitcoin literally in your head. There's no physical thing. It can't be confiscated. It can't be frozen by a third party. Banks can't take away your Bitcoin. Nothing like that, right? So it becomes a very, very valuable asset, especially since it's scarce. It's capped that there will ever only be 21 million Bitcoin. You know these things probably by now about Bitcoin. And then you can start to see, well, this is what's happening with fiat currencies. They're getting worth less and less and less. More people are going to start realizing this. It's going to start reflecting in the daily prices, even in groceries and trips and hotels and cars and houses and whatever the case is. And as that keeps going up, more people start to realize, hey, I don't need the fiat currencies. I'd rather put it in properties, in stocks, in gold and metals, or Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, right? And for a lot of larger investors, other cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin are probably not interesting right now because there's so many of them. It's not really proven. Maybe Ethereum because it's the second biggest and it's working on the operating system. But a lot of people are just going to go for Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin goes up because of the nature and the relationship between Bitcoin and altcoins, well, if Bitcoin is going to go up, then eventually altcoins are also going to ride that boom because money is going to flow from Bitcoin into altcoins because the ROI is just too big. When Bitcoin gets so high versus the altcoins being low, the potential gains for the altcoins are enormous, right? So just this kind of broad overview, this higher level viewpoint of what's happening with fiat currencies and where that money is going to start flowing into other assets is likely to lead to an enormous boom also in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies over the years, because this chart is not going to reverse. Okay, it's just going to keep going higher and higher and higher, and the value of fiat currencies is just going to go less. Purchasing power is going to decrease. There's negative interest rates in banks already, so there's no point literally even in keeping your fiat currency in a bank because you get 0% or you're going to have to pay negative 0.5%. So anywhere is better than keeping it in cash. So ultimately, that is why Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies also stand to profit from this in a big way. And because it's such a tiny market cap, the potential gains are so much bigger than, for example, property or gold or silver or even stocks. Right, because it is only a $300 and something billion market cap with cryptocurrencies, and the chance of that going higher is just enormous in my opinion. This is also an interesting article. Multiple data points suggest Bitcoin's 2017 style bull cycle has begun. That's also something I'll show you on the next tab. We look at some charts. If there is a 4-year cycle in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, which so far kind of seems to have been the case, plus the fact that Bitcoin has the 4-year halving cycle, which is unquestionable. It's built into the code, right? Every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin produced every single day gets cut in half. So when it comes to the cycle of 4 years, 2013 was the first peak, 2017 was the second peak, and now we're heading into 2021. So if those cycles repeat, well, add 4 to 2017, and we're looking at 2021, and it is looking, a whole lot of things are just looking like that's lining up to happen once again. Now, of course, this may be another case of if it's expected and it's priced in, it might not happen. Maybe it'll take longer this cycle, but at the same time, maybe it won't. Okay, so we're looking at potentially 2021 being a very profitable year for anyone holding cryptocurrencies. And you can see here in this article, all of these, by the way, will be in the link in the description below if you do want to go and read more. So according to data from the TIE, an alternative data provider for digital assets, the daily sentiment score for Bitcoin has reached 62.4. The metric measures the tone of conversations in Twitter to derive positive or negative sentiment in the market, and any score above 50 implies that the market sentiment is positive. And yes, indeed, I mean, you don't even have to look at this to know that the sentiment around cryptocurrency still is positive. It's still a little bit fearful. It's still a little bit cautious because we still haven't broken above the $12,000 or the $14,000 level with any significance. But given all the events that are happening, there's just a general bullish vibe to Bitcoin, and I think also to cryptocurrencies. And I think we're in the early stages just before we get some serious movement to the upside in cryptocurrencies. So on Twitter, the account at ChartBTC is actually a really interesting account to follow. They give you a lot of information about charts and things like that. And this is very interesting regarding the cycles I was just talking about. So if you look, this is the previous cycle, the blue over here from 2012 to 2017, because it moves in the 4-year cycles, right? So we got the red over here, which is obviously from 2016 onwards. And if you overlay that or you compare that to what's happening and what's happened previously, you can see how this cycle is very much following the previous cycle. You can see over here, so the peak over here in late 2013, peak in late 2017, and you can see after that peak how the price action of this current cycle matches the previous cycle and how that's very much followed along. And you can start to see here that once we get to that 4th year, which last time was 2017, this year it is 2021, you can see over here that's the year when it really starts to take off. So we're getting to a point where that's starting to look more and more likely. Here's also a comparison of the two cycles with an indicator called the Mayer multiple. But there's many interesting charts. Even this one, again, it compares the different cycles. So you can see the different colors here are the Bitcoin block rewards. So this was the first time before the halving when from the inception of Bitcoin, it was 50 Bitcoin per block. After the first halving, it got cut to 25, then to 12.5, then to 6.25. And you can see how the cycles move in terms of price action. So in this one, how that moved in the third. So this was the up leading up to the halving this year, this whole cycle that happened over here. And you can see how we're moving along here. So from this point, how it moves higher. So, you know, that again shows it doesn't mean anything with 100% certainty. Obviously, nobody knows. But so far, it really looks like the cycles are still repeating. They're still well on track to do what they're gonna do. And another really cool Twitter account to follow is Plan B from $100 trillion. He always does a lot with the stock to flow model, where he shares his insights about Bitcoin with the flow, the new Bitcoin being produced versus the amount of supply available. And this is also, it has to do with the halving. So when it moves from blue to red, that is when the halving occurs. And you can see over here, this is a cycle of Bitcoin based on how many months out from the halving. And again, it just repeats every time. So the first cycle, this was the first halving, and you can see after that halving how it took off. This is the second halving back in 2016. You can see when it went from blue to red, and then how it started moving higher. And we have just had this year the third halving where it went from blue to red, and you can see everything is very much on track. Now it does seem like there is obviously diminishing returns. So the first cycle, it was much steeper, much higher in percentage terms. The second cycle, it was down a little bit, and this time we can probably expect it to be a little bit lower again. But again, it seems like the cycles are repeating, and it's just a matter of patience. And now we're moving in on, you know, being 5-6 months out from the halving, and we're starting to move towards the phase once again, which is the 4th year in the cycle, where the previous cycles, that 4th year has resulted in the largest gains. Now, another thing that makes me think, again, that contributes to Bitcoin being bullish and this cycle repeating is the fact that we've had a whole lot of negative news and fear and uncertainty and doubt over the past couple of weeks that if Bitcoin wanted to sell off, it could have crashed big time. But we've had multiple events. I'm going to show you now in the next few articles that could have led to these huge sell-offs, and it hasn't, which means that most likely there is a lot of support here and Bitcoin does not want to go down. Obviously, there's also a lot of big companies that have invested tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into buying Bitcoin at around these levels, 9, 10, 11,000. So obviously, it's also maybe in their interest to not have it go down. Who knows about what's all going on behind the scenes? But I'm just saying this is bullish, okay? Even just yesterday, OKX, a big cryptocurrency exchange, the news came out they suspended withdrawals because one of their key holders is apparently not available due to cooperation with an investigation. Now, normally, if this would have been ready to sell off on news like this, it could have tanked thousands of dollars, right? If there was really a big issue, but it didn't. It's been holding up pretty strong. There's another one over here. Qcoin recently, not too long ago, just a few weeks ago, got hacked, and apparently they say here in this article 150 million. Apparently it was more than $200 million where it got hacked, withdrawals were frozen, and so on and so forth. That's a huge hack, and if again, that would have been a perfect opportunity for Bitcoin to sell off thousands of dollars. Again, it didn't. It held up pretty strong. Another really big incident like this is the big leveraged exchange BitMEX, bitmex.com. It's been around for years and years and years. They got problems with the SEC where they're taking legal action against BitMEX, saying they're operating without a license and in the wrong jurisdiction, all this kind of stuff. The founders at the time got arrested, and there was all sorts of scare around that. Again, the market didn't really sell off. If this would have been a time where they wanted crypto to sell off, it could have sold thousands of dollars and dropped and gone back into a negative trend. And this is 3 things in a row in the last few weeks. Really big events that could have caused a massive sell-off, especially combined, right? If it's a one event, but these are 3 in like the space of like 2-3 weeks. It didn't cause a massive sell-off yet. Touch wood, obviously, but that's positive. That's really bullish in my opinion. So there's so much happening here that is really pointing towards crypto is getting ready for a larger move to the upside. Just some more progress in the space. Luxury watchmaker Breitling issues digital certificates on the Ethereum blockchain. So slowly but surely, we're starting to see more corporations, more companies starting to warm up to blockchain, to cryptocurrencies, and things like that. And overall, one by one, they all help build out the ecosystem until at some point it's going to get big enough and there is going to be that tipping point. The technology is going to be good enough for it to become mainstream. It's going to be fast enough, secure enough, easy enough to use. And at some point, there will be some app or something that's really going to get tens of millions of people into cryptocurrencies and really start using them as, the crypto community always talks about. Crypto could change the world and it's going to end up being used on a daily basis and all that kind of stuff. So I think eventually that will happen. But until that time, it's just a slow process. But one by one, they're eventually joining and changing their tune. Isle of Man regulator says Bitcoin and Ether are not considered as securities. That's obviously good news for anyone wanting to buy Bitcoin or Ether. And I think we'll start to see this more and more, where it's basically not considered as security. Obviously very interesting for investors, because a lot of people have probably stayed on the sidelines because they weren't sure about the status and if something was to be considered a security, like we've seen with some ICOs and other tokens. Well, obviously you don't want to get invested in that because it's a lot of drama and it's probably going to lose you a lot of money, because when that happens, the value of the token or the project completely stops trading and stuff like that. So this is good news. Spain approves a bill requiring cryptocurrency owners to disclose holdings. I think this is going to be something that we're going to be seeing more and more. It's already the case in the US, as far as I know. Now we're seeing Spain. I think we're just going to see this more and more with countries all just going to be making it mandatory to disclose your crypto holdings and how much of it you have. So, you know, that's just something that we're going to start seeing, especially as it starts getting bigger and bigger. And if the cryptocurrency market cap goes into the trillions of dollars, I think this is just going to be a standard thing. I mean, you can get mad about it, but what can you do? Like, it's just something that's going to be there and something you're going to have to comply with if you are in those jurisdictions where your country is requiring that from you. Now, again, more positive news. Like I've been showing you this whole time, there's just so much of it. And Grayscale, obviously a huge digital asset investment vehicle, they just announced the largest ever quarterly inflows, over $1 billion in inflows in Q3 2020, making it the third consecutive record-breaking quarter. So the last 3 quarters have just been breaking record every single time about the amount of inflows into cryptocurrency investments. Again, that is a huge signal that there was a lot of money interested in cryptocurrencies. And you can go check this out. It's actually free to go look at. It's always interesting. They release this report every single quarter, and there's just a lot of interesting information over here. So you can see they're just growing bigger and bigger. So now Grayscale has $5.9 billion assets under management. And you can see the total investment into Grayscale products is $1 billion. The average weekly investment, $80.5 million. Bitcoin Trust per week, $55 million flowing into Bitcoin in Grayscale, in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Okay, that is huge. You can see over here the takeaway. That is basically year-to-date investment in the Grayscale family has surpassed $2.4 billion. More than double the 1.2 billion cumulative inflow from 2013 to 2019, right? So this year alone has doubled the entire inflow from 2013 to 2019. That is huge. The cumulative investment across Grayscale family of products since inception now totals 3.6 billion. So Grayscale, public companies, investors, money is flowing into Bitcoin and into cryptocurrency products and actual cryptocurrencies at a rate that's never been seen before. It is huge. The FUD, the hacks, the uncertainty around these exchanges has not caused it to sell off. We've got the 4-year cycle that's happening where we're moving into the 4th year of the cycle. So all these things point towards crypto and Bitcoin really having potential to have a massive year in 2021. So that's good news if you already hold cryptocurrency. And if you don't hold it yet, well, then you might want to consider getting involved. So you can see over here the Grayscale cumulative quarterly inflows since inception. That is looking very healthy. That is a positive thing for cryptocurrencies. I highly recommend you actually go through this entire report. It's 20 pages. They publish one every single quarter, and it's just interesting to see all that data and see what's been happening over here. And you can see over here also the different cryptocurrency products that they offer. So obviously it's mainly Bitcoin, but the green over here is Ethereum. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, obviously they're the 2 biggest cryptocurrencies. They have long track records. So it does make sense that a lot of money is flowing into those 2. But we're even starting to see some other different coins here, even Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum over here. Ethereum Classic still getting some of that share. Tim Draper raises $25 million for a blockchain venture fund. This is also something that's been happening for the last month. So even the last couple of years, is literally tens and hundreds of millions of dollars have been going into startups, into companies, into infrastructure, into exchanges for the cryptocurrency space, and it is not slowing down. So once again, all that investment, all that money, all those people who have a lot of skin in the game to make cryptocurrencies succeed, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're not going to do everything they possibly can for crypto to get bigger so that they can recoup their investments? Do you not think that they're going to promote it? Do you not think they're going to, continue to innovate and spread the message and advertise and help bring crypto mainstream? The more people that invest into the success of cryptocurrency, the more likely that cryptocurrency is going to become successful. It's going to be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more people that want it to be successful and get involved and put in their money and their time and their resources, the more likely it is that it's going to be successful. It's going to grow, and as it grows, there's going to be even more money that floods into startups and into development and into the space, which makes it grow even bigger. So I think the future is very, very bright for cryptocurrencies. Bithumb is set to launch a DeFi platform as a Polkadot parachain. So if you don't know about Polkadot or parachains just yet, I can't explain it in this video. I'll obviously have to make a separate video, but it is a very interesting project, Polkadot and parachains, and it could potentially be something that becomes very, very big in the crypto space. So keep an eye on that and do some research into that if you haven't done so already. Polkadot and parachains are interesting. I will make future videos on it to explain it in more detail. So again, more bullish news. This is also, we're starting to see this more and more. So former Facebook executive says Bitcoin is insurance policy against the dollar. Chamath Pali, I'm not going to pronounce his name. I'm gonna mispronounce that. So anyway, Chamath, he's very interesting. He's got a lot of free content on YouTube. Obviously, he's been very successful. He's an early Bitcoin investor. And he's also talking about this very loudly, saying that, hey, Bitcoin is actually an insurance policy against what is happening with fiat currencies. Like I showed you earlier in this video, what's been happening with fiat currencies, with the amount of currency that's being printed, the money supply going up. Exactly my point, all right? Bitcoin is an insurance policy against that. And then you can start to see over here new research from Fidelity. Obviously, they're a huge wealth management firm. They show that Bitcoin is uniquely decoupled from the movement of other asset classes. So in brief, Fidelity's Bitcoin investment thesis shows that Bitcoin has an extremely low correlation with other assets like stocks or gold. The report considers the situation of an investor allocating 5% of a multi-asset portfolio to Bitcoin. Fidelity has been a consistent supporter of Bitcoin and other digital assets. So obviously this is a hypothetical situation, but again, the more people that are theorizing about it or recommending single-digit percentages of a portfolio in Bitcoin and as a result maybe cryptocurrencies, you know, the more likely it is that more money is going to start flowing into cryptocurrencies, as we've started to see with these big companies and investors starting to buy loads and loads and loads of Bitcoin. Here's another one. Stoneridge reveals a $115 million Bitcoin investment as a part of a $1 billion spinoff. As part of the announcement, Stoneridge Holdings Group revealed NYDIG is acting as a custodian of 10,000 of the parent company's Bitcoin, valued at $115 million at today's prices. So, with big companies investing tens of millions, hundreds of millions at a time, right? And I know we've only had a few, but we're starting to see it and it's starting to happen more frequently. What do you think is going to happen to the price of Bitcoin? How long can companies keep buying 10, 20, 50 million, 100 million, $400 million worth of Bitcoin without affecting the price, without buying up the supply, without reducing the supply enough that there's very little circulating and available? Because these companies aren't just buying it for a quick trade. They're not just buying it to sell it tomorrow or next week. When they buy it, they generally have a long-term plan. Now, maybe when it doubles, you know, in a few years or in a few months, they might decide to reduce their position or their allocation, but maybe they're continuing to hold. So every time they're buying tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, they're taking that out of the supply, reducing the supply for anyone else who wants to purchase Bitcoin. Diginex is the first crypto and digital asset exchange to go public in the US. So again, more bullish news. We're starting to see this. This was unheard of a few years ago, where actual crypto exchanges were getting the compliance and they were going public and all this kind of stuff. This wasn't happening. This is happening now more and more and more. Again, very, very bullish. And finally, another topic, I'm not going to go too much into it, but basically central bank digital currencies are really starting to become a popular topic, and it's happening all around the world. They're talking about a digital euro, they're talking about a digital Japanese yen, digital Singapore dollar, perhaps a digital US dollar that they're already talking about, Fed coin and all kinds of stuff they've talked about. China is talking about a digital yuan. and it's just happening more and more. Now, this could probably still take years for it to actually roll out, but even the fact that it's being talked about publicly gives some sort of endorsement, I think, also to digital currencies and digital assets. So even though central bank digital currencies are completely not the same as cryptocurrencies, they might not even use blockchain or anything that is currently existing with Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything like that. But as a concept, that this is where we're heading as a society towards a digital currency and towards digital assets, I think that should start making a lot more people feel comfortable with this idea of digital assets, and that Bitcoin and digital currencies aren't actually such a crazy idea, or that they're not a trend or a hype that just came and that's going away. This is literally where society is heading, and whether you like it or not, in a few years from now, all the currency that we're going to be using is going to be digital already. So maybe the idea of Bitcoin isn't as crazy as it seems, especially since the whole angle of Bitcoin is that it is a digital currency, but it is not created or controlled by governments or by central banks. So as people start to kind of lose trust of what's happening with the money supply and the governments, and how leadership is happening in the world, more people might start to think, hey, I like this idea of digital currencies, but I also like the idea of being able to be my own bank and being able to hold a digital currency that has all these aspects. It is scarce, but I can fully control it, and nobody can freeze it or take it away from me. And that is when we can start to see a lot more people moving into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And that is when we could start to see potentially, we're at 40, 50 million users, people who own cryptocurrencies or have a crypto wallet. That could go to 500 million, a billion, 2, 3 billion. And then what happens to cryptocurrencies? What do you think is going to happen to the price of Bitcoin, especially as fiat currency continues to lose purchasing power? So when Bitcoin priced in US dollars, the price can go much, much higher. And maybe we'll see 6-figure, even 7-figure per Bitcoin one day. It's probably not going to happen very soon or in the near future. But who knows, 5, 10 years from now, what is the future going to look like? What's going to happen to cryptocurrencies? And hopefully, this kind of gives you a bit of an insight to what is happening, and how this all, to me at least, looks incredibly, incredibly bullish, and how I think that even next year we could start to see some very, very good movement and price action for cryptocurrencies. It's not guaranteed, but there are so many things pointing towards this, and I am very, very bullish on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies for the next year, but also for the next few years. This is a longer term game. Just like with any new technology, if you were able to get in very early, when people didn't fully understand it, when people didn't really believe in it, and you were able to hold on to those shares or that equity or that investment for multiple years, the potential payoff could have been huge. And I think it's that same case with Bitcoin and with cryptocurrencies. And once again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but as we're starting to see people, billionaires, funds, companies starting to invest 1% or 2 or 3 single-digit percentages of their net worth or their assets into Bitcoin. Well, if they're doing it, and obviously they're very wealthy, smart money, then, maybe you should look into considering why they're doing that. And perhaps that is something that you could consider for your own portfolio. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please smash that like button, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below with your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to get another repeat, or is 2021 going to be the year when crypto is going to blow up? Is it going to take longer? Is it never going to happen? What do you think? Leave a comment below, smash that like button, and if you want more content and you want more updates, just subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. And all you need to do is click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and you'll get future updates. And if you do want to learn more about cryptocurrencies, or you want more research, or you want access to new projects, you want the updates, you want the insights, you want a community, you want access to me personally and the other members in my community, go to intelligentcryptocurrency.com. It is the first link in the description below. and you'll be able to get access to all my research, to a beginner's course, a trading course. There's much more information in there than I can provide on this channel, and I share a lot of content. Even in the members Discord chat groups, you get access to me and all the other members, but I post in there on a daily basis. I share charts, I share other articles, I share videos, information, I answer questions. So look, if you want your best possible chance at success with cryptocurrencies and you want to learn more, go and check out my community, intelligentcryptocurrency.com. It's the first link in the description below, and I would love to have you in there and help you as much as I possibly can to have success with cryptocurrencies. That's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed that video. I will see you in the next video. Peace.